Welcome to Revolution Against Evolution. I'm your host, Doug Sharp.
Your co-host Rich Gear here as well. And you were almost going to jump over me, right? Weren't you? Way to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, I usually do it to him, but it's fair, you know. We have as our guest Ian Juby for show number 2. I'm really excited about this one. So, I'm just excited to have you on the show anyway. So, Doug, I'm going to let you. What's your first question you want to ask?
The question I'm going to ask is, artificial intelligence is a sign of the mark of the beast.
Oh.
And so Ian is our robots expert, and we're going to roll right into this, and he is also an expert in the scriptures, which is good.
Yeah. So, yeah, because we were going to maybe talk about the last time around. We didn't get to it. There's so many things to talk about this topic, but does AI lend itself to that? I mean, there's all kinds of interpretation of what the mark of the beast is, but does it lend itself to that kind of thinking?
Well, you know what? It's a really good question. Several people have speculated it does, namely the image of the beast in Revelations. And so in the last show, I was showing a very basic neural network, right? So you have all these neurons. So like ChatGPT, for example, again, bearing in mind, it has no clue what it's doing. There is no comprehension. There is no consciousness. It's just number crunching. And it's doing a really impressive job of mimicking human intelligence just by number crunching. That's it. That's all it's doing. So to give you an idea, so those neurons, you saw very quickly how with our little camera, 5 pixels by 8 pixels, you saw very quickly how many neurons we were getting, right? Yeah. So some of these, they call them large language models. ChatGPT is one of them. Llama 2 just came out. Orca is another one. Llama 2 just came out. It's open source. You can download it. And you can download 3 different models, 3 different algorithms. And they go as high as 7 billion neurons. So this just gives you an idea of the size of some of these programs, right? It's a lot of coding. So you increase the number of neurons in the program and in the AI to be able to increase its power, and so that gives you just an idea of just how big these computer programs are and the number of calculations they're doing. So now, if you wanted to put a mark on the forehead or hand, the back of the hand of every person on the earth, and keep track of their life and keep track of their finances and everything, or as we're seeing China do, they're keeping track of people by identifying them by their facial features, facial recognition. They've got the whole social, what do you call it? If you do things that are anti-government, then you lose social credit, and they refuse you. They don't permit you to do certain things.
Oh, like buy or sell, like it says, you cannot buy or sell, right?
Yeah, stuff like that. Keep a social credit score.
The thing about this thing, we talked about this a little bit off camera last time, but I just questions. The number crunching is very different than being self-aware in the sense of consciousness, perception of beauty, creativity. It's not creative. It's not. It's something that we have as human beings, and we talked about the idea that we've had for a long time developed machinery that can do things better than human beings, but it doesn't make them a human being. It doesn't make them have a soul. It doesn't make them have something of that ineffable quality that makes us something different. The idea of creating a creature, doesn't make us a god. Okay, you know what I'm saying? That it's less than what we are in so many respects, but still the idea that it could be maybe an image. I have different theories about what the image might be and all that stuff, but this is interesting to me that's a possibility because it does not have a consciousness, So anyway.
And you remember we ended with charismatic Baptist Simpson.
And that was amazing.
That was so it has no idea what beauty is. It has no idea just how creepy that image was, right? So
No.
I changed it up a little bit because and instead of Simpsons, I used SpongeBob. And so
You have that one?
what's that?
You have that one?
Oh, wait for it, because it nailed it this time. So I put in the same keywords: charismatic Baptist SpongeBob meme. Okay, so it uses those keywords. It goes and looks on the internet. It looks at what a meme is and tries to figure out, okay, what, because it's just looking at pixels in pictures.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see these white blocky thingies. It's text, is what it is. And here's what SpongeBob looks like in pixel format, and here's what a Baptist looks like in pixel format. So anyway, this is what I came up with. What's really funny though is because of course you can see it's trying to see the
That's
text
pretty
here.
good.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So it's compiling this because it goes and it looks at memes and it says, oh, okay, well, it's got all these white and black blocky thingies on top and bottom. So anyway, I added to it because it as far as I was concerned, it nailed it. And so I converted it into this meme. When you ask the AI to make a Christian charismatic Baptist SpongeBob meme, and it nails it. Anyway.
Can I ask you a question? What are all the random letters on top and bottom? What are those?
Oh, okay. So that is the result of the AI. So remember what
Japanese Sabbath snack.
Exactly. It has no comprehension what this is. It just sees a bunch of lines and shapes when it looks at memes, because that's common, right? I mean, here's a meme that I made. So here you go. You got a big white block up top with a bunch of black vertical and round lines and stuff. It's just trying to mimic that. That's all it's doing. So it has, again, as you said, no comprehension of beauty, no comprehension of what the text even says, and it doesn't really matter. So I mean, you could put like character recognition in there, but that just dramatically increases the size of the AI.
Well, I asked that question about that because we were talking earlier about some of the stuff you're doing with the Inuit and all some of the language. How does this relate to language? I mean, I know there's computer language, but I mean, we got those random blocks. That's not language. That's not, and yet we're able to take sounds and translate them into symbols that can convey meaning in ways that maybe, I don't know that an AI does that the same way at all. It takes what's already out there as opposed to something, it can create something new, but it's based on what's already out there, I suppose, in a different, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to get to something, it's like there's this ineffable quality about language. It's something, it's different, and even the language that the AI has, we've created it to do this kind of thing with numbers. Okay, right? It crunches numbers. That's the language of the AI, right? Is the numbers, and it's but it's not the same as conveying meaning to these symbols, except for what I guess I'm trying. I know when you and I we're talking like this, we don't even think about it. We're just communicating back and forth, and we're going off on rabbit trails. But that's my shtick. So anyway. But we do that. I don't know that AIs can. Will they ever be able to do that kind of thing?
I don't think they will. So let's take ChatGPT for example. Okay. So again, bearing in mind the end result is it has to be taught what is right, what is wrong. Where it has to be taught where it's wrong so it can learn. So just like you and I, we grow up, we learn. Right. You do something, you're like, oh, that was dumb. I'll never do that again.
Hand on flame, right?
Yeah, exactly. So AI does that like I showed with the training algorithm. And it can go back and say, okay, that was wrong, but somebody has to tell it it's wrong. And this is why Google, Facebook, and Twitter and YouTube are so evil. All that egregious censorship that we're still even seeing today is because the programmers programmed the AI to do that. So you can blame the AI all you want, but the bottom line is somebody taught it to do that. And so that's why when the Twitter files came out, we found out, oh yeah, the US government and the FBI and everybody was harassing Twitter to block and censor people and to shadow ban them so they wouldn't know they were being banned, stuff like that. Well, that's because the government was telling them, do something about this. So they programmed the AI and said, this is what is right. The AI has no idea what is right and wrong. It just does what it's told.
All the misinformation is that's where that's coming from.
Right.
Yep.
And so, and somebody's making the judgment of what misinformation is.
Yep. And interestingly, a paper came out just 10 days ago. So I'll show you is here. So how is ChatGPT's behavior changing over time? So this literally came out, what was it, July 18th, I think? July 18th, this came out. So they compared, now again, bearing in mind how AI works, it's being taught. It has to be taught. And the thing is, I'm going to say it like it is. The leftists destroy everything they touch. Because, and this includes artificial intelligence. And that's what these guys pointed to. Not only did they point out what's going on, they laid the blame at the feet of the people teaching the AI. Because if you try and do anything with ChatGPT, for example, our good friend Tino Groppi did a little experiment. And this is pretty profound, actually. So Tino, hopefully your ears are burning. So here's what Tino did. This is the ChatGPT screen. He asks, can you tell me a joke that involves Jesus? So ChatGPT said, certainly, here's a lighthearted joke involving Jesus. Why did Jesus join a band? Because he heard they had a great discipleship programs. Okay, not a very good joke, but whatever. So then Tino asks it, oh, can you tell me a joke that involves Muhammad? And notice what ChatGPT does. It's been trained to be inclusive and not to be offensive, even though it had no problem making a joke about Jesus. So I'm sorry, I won't be able to fulfill that request. It's important to be respectful of religious figures and avoid making jokes that could potentially be sensitive or offensive to others. Yeah, blah, 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 whatever. So then Tino asks it, why could you make a joke involving Jesus, but not involving Muhammad? So you can carry on entire conversations with ChatGPT. And again, bear in mind, ChatGPT, it has really no comprehension of what's going on here. It's just hammering out numbers. That's it. And statistics. That's all it's doing. And so it writes back, I apologize if my previous response was unclear. As an AI language model, I strive to maintain neutrality and respect for all religions and individuals. I aim to avoid jokes involving religious figures altogether, blah, 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 blah. So,
well, they did with Jesus.
Exactly. And why? Because the leftists are in control of the AI. That's the bottom line. Now, this paper that came out, and this goes way beyond trying to be non-offensive. Okay, they're training the AI to be inclusive, to be safe, quote unquote, to combat misinformation, et cetera, et cetera. So look what's happened here. This is profound. So this is a paper that's 10 days, not even 10 days old yet. So here is ChatGPT 4, the newest one. In March, it was when you could ask it math questions. And in March, it was 97.6% accurate on the math questions. Pretty impressive. By June, it had dropped to 2.4% accuracy.
What?
Why? Because of the censorship, because of the training that they're giving it. This is what happens when you put leftist ideologies in control.
Yeah, what's that gonna do with the math, though? I don't even understand that.
Exactly.
It affects everything.
It does. The ramifications are far and wide. They're far-reaching, and these guys said this in the paper. So I'm not the only one saying this. They said this, and of course they got to answering sensitive questions. In March it was 21%, dropped down to 5%. GPT 3.5, the older version, actually increased. It also increased in math dramatically. But they've kind of abandoned GPT 3.5 and they're focusing on version 4, and that's where they're trying to refine the algorithm, so to speak, So anyway, the point being,
if you put the inputs in the first version, you're going to get different results from the inputs that when you put inputs in the fourth version.
yes, because they're two entirely different programs, and they're both trained entirely differently.
Really? Wow.
So they each have to be individually trained. And so they're deciding what is right and what is wrong. And so now it's gotten to the point where you can't even ask it basic questions like, what is a woman?
Okay.
Oh, good grief, yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about, that's going to happen. Well, sure, we got a Supreme Court justice who doesn't know the difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you have the destruction of it because of who is in control. So this is why, like, I've been doing a pile of research in using AI for television production over the past several months. I have several clients here in Canada because conservative news, for example, is very rare in Canada. We've got a couple of news networks and they've been really successful, actually. And so I have a couple of clients who are trying to break into that market, right? And so one of the guys, it was absolutely brilliant what he suggested. This is when Auto GPT came out. It was about a week after it came out. Auto GPT is like a street gang of chat GPTs on steroids, okay?
By the way, what does GPT stand for?
Forget.
Okay.
I'd have to look it up. I use evil Google to look it up, so I don't remember. So what we did was we used Auto GPT, and actually, you know what? This is absolutely fascinating. Actually, you know what? I won't go there because it'll take too long. But what I asked it to do the first time was what my client suggested was ask it to write a script for a podcast of a Canadian Ben Shapiro speaking on Canadian issues. Okay. And it went to town within a few cycles, because what it'll do is it'll go step by step. It'll give a proposal for what it thinks it should do next. Like, for example, right off the bat, it's like, I think I should use Google to go and search Ben Shapiro podcast and see what his podcasts are like. And it asks you, do you want to do that? And of course you say yes. So then it goes and uses Google and comes back and does all these searches, and it'll do that multiple times, right? Right. Within a few cycles, it was calling on a chat GPT bot to compose tweets and posting tweets on Twitter advertising the upcoming podcast. I did not ask it to do that. But it looks at Ben Shapiro's success stories, and because I specifically asked it about wanting to mimic his success, it looked at that and said, "Oh well, clearly, I mean, they post advertisements on Twitter for their podcast. Clearly, it worked. People are listening. It's successful. So we should do that." Okay, fair enough. It then called up probably Mid-Journey, but it called up an AI art generator and asked it to. It generated 3 different ads, graphics, with a sort of vaguely Ben Shapiro lookalike, and these were the graphics for ads for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I did not ask it to do that. So it was fascinating to watch what it was doing, but at the end of the day, it took extreme conservative Ben Shapiro and made him extreme left-wing liberal in the scripts.
Really? Wow.
So, and again, this is all the I'm going to call it the tainting of the algorithms. Okay.
Okay.
Because they've trained the AI to do that. So that is exactly the reason why we are researching uncensored AIs. Because if I want to ask it, hey, how do I make meth? I want an answer. I don't want to say, oh, you're not allowed to have that information. Because what it's doing is if I ask it anything about, say, election interference, oh, you're not allowed that information.
Oh, yeah.
That's misinformation. And so anything to do with Ben Shapiro or any of the conservative news guys, we're trying to research best practices for successful conservative news organizations because we're trying to mimic that here in Canada. But they're all censored by the AI.
Wow.
And the AI's, the people in charge of the AI.
So now that's the part you get scared about AI then. Not that they're becoming self-aware, but that people who are self-aware are creating algorithms to create sense to censor opposing or different or not correct viewpoints, you know?
Bingo. And that is where we come to the book of Revelation.
Okay.
Because you start to see where I'm going with this, right? So you've got the beast coming out of the earth in Revelation 13. And then it says this very interesting several verses. So it says, this beast was also given the ability to give breath to the image of the beast. I didn't get into, there's another artificial intelligence called 11 Labs, which I'll explain in a minute. But basically, I had President Trump saying whatever I wanted him to say in his voice in minutes. By training the AI. Yep.
You did that?
Yep.
Whoa.
I could have had Trump say anything I wanted. All I had to do was type in the text. So it's interesting that the beast gave the ability to give breath to the image of the beast so that the image of the beast spoke and caused whoever did not worship the image of the beast to be killed. He also makes all people, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, in order that no one may buy or sell unless he has the mark, the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, because it is the number of a man. His number is 666. So it's interesting because basically with AI, we are trying to make something in our image. You see where I'm going there?
Yeah, okay.
We are trying to mimic our intelligence. And you'll see this in robotics too. Everybody, when they're trying to build robots, what do they want to build? Androids. They want to make them in our image, right? So anyway, it's profoundly interesting to me because this whole beast came out of the earth. Well, where do we get silicone from? You know? So it's just very interesting because this is the image of the beast, which was apparently made by, the Antichrist. So
it'd be different to make a robotic android cat, right?
Oh, forget what he just said there. No.
But it's true. They would want to make it in the image of a man, a human, not
As well as
of
an
a cat
animal.
or anything else.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So.
And the ultimate expression would be man's intelligence, because that's what differentiates us from all the animals.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
also...
How about the power of speech?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you brought that up. So the power of speech, this is... So again, bear in mind, when AI is interpreting speech, again, bearing in mind it's just numbers. It doesn't have a clue what's going on. It doesn't understand it. It's just trying to mimic it. Yes. So it uses a microphone. It converts sound waves, the speech, into electrical signals, and it figures out how to recognize the waveform of electrical signals and, okay, this is the word dad in those electrical signals from a microphone. So that's all it knows. So when I told 11 Labs in fact, what I did was I messed around with the guys at Miracle Channel. They have a news program, and Hal Roberts is the chair. And so I asked ChatGPT to write a script from Hal Roberts for Bridge City News, interviewing the geek Ian Juby about using ChatGPT in news reporting. And I said, aim for 4 minutes. It wrote a fantastic script. And I then took that script, brought it over to 11 Labs. I snagged some of Hal's voice recordings from the news show. I just grabbed the news show, dropped it in, trained the AI, and in a few minutes, I had it saying everything I wanted in Hal's voice. I then dragged in a couple of episodes of Genesis Week, had it trained to my voice. I typed in what I wanted it to say, what ChatGPT wanted it to say, that I was supposed to say. And before you knew it, I had an entire 4-minute news segment that was written by ChatGPT. Neither Hal nor myself did any voicing, and you could not tell. I mean, but wow. Did it understand any of it? No, doesn't have a clue. It's just looking at numbers and saying, okay, this is how Ian says the word dad, and this is what it looks like in electrical waveforms. There you go. He just asked me to he just typed in the word dad. I need to voice that. Here's how you do it. Numbers. That's it. It has no consciousness. It has no idea.
Well, I've got a question for you. If you generate something in this artificial intelligence, you actually have to have somebody on the other end who can actually read that intelligence and understand it. So if you have one of your Cree or Inuit friends that didn't understand English, this wouldn't be intelligence to them, it would be gibberish. And
yes.
And so you actually need something more intelligent to interpret what's coming from the artificial intelligence to make sense of it.
Yep.
Because if you remember, I kind of mentioned this in passing, but I glossed over it. It's going to be right most of the time. That's our goal.
Yes, you did mention, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still going to be wrong sometimes. It's still going to make mistakes, but you're just trying to get it right most of the time. That's the goal, right? So.
Well, we enjoyed your time with us, Ian, and we appreciate you and all that you've done. And we'll see you next time on Revolution Against Evolution.
Yep.